and really depending on your personality, your upbringing, your exposure to money as a child, and certain other cultural things will determine where you're going to fit in these two camps. Mental accounting can lead to naive diversification. Yeah, listen, I got 10 choices in my 401k plan. I'm going to put 10% of my money in each of them. I get 5 choices. I'm going to put 20% of my money into each of them. Right? That doesn't necessarily, it's diversified, sure, but is it a correct diversification? Does it really reflect my risk tolerances, time horizons, and liquidity needs? Familiarity, the more familiar we are with a task or a company, the more comfortable we are with the risk. So if any of you have clients that, or you yourselves work for publicly traded companies that compensate you in stock, they'll build these accumulations in the stock and then they marry it. They just don't ever want to get rid of it. And I have a client that has a fairly significant, like 40% of his net worth tied up in one company stock. If I ever went to him and said, I want to take 40% of your money and put it into Amazon, he'd fire me, right? But with this stock, because he was there, he thinks he knows more about it. So he'll take significantly more risk with it because he thinks he knows more about it. We also have something called home bias, and it's not just us, right? It's everyone. So in the United States, we think our stuff is the best. In Japan, they think their stuff is the best. In Germany, they think their stuff is the best. And so what that leads to is in the United States, when you look at the average allocation of an American, about 90% of their equity investments is going to be in U.S. equities. Well, that's fine, but U.S. equity or U.S. companies only represent about 35 to 40% of global GDP. So you're heavily over allocated. In Japan, where I think they represent about 12% of global GDP, the average equity investment of a Japanese investor in Japanese stocks is 94%, right? So we all have this home bias. We think our stuff is better than everyone else's. We all also have herd mentality. We feel more comfortable if other people are doing it too, right? So we'll seek out, like, what are you doing with your money? Well, what are you doing with your money? And if there's a lot of people saying the same thing, we with nothing else, no other research, just by that, we think, okay, well, that's going to probably be good for me too. And listen, there's reasons for that. Evolutionally, if we separated from the pack, something bigger came and ate us, right? So we want to be in safety in numbers. But that, again, just because it's right for them, they could have totally different risk tolerance. They could have totally different goals, totally different liquidity needs. And so just because they're doing it doesn't necessarily mean that it works for you. So certainly optimism can lead to exuberance, which can lead to market bubbles. Bubbles are really hard to determine. I don't necessarily think it's that hard to determine when you're in a bubble. It's just really hard to understand when that bubble is going to end. You certainly know for sure when it has ended, but it's tough to be ahead of that. And so certainly a lot of great work is being done in this field. If you're interested, I have a great reading list for behavioral finance, but one of the best introduction books. And I get, I send these out to people all the time. It's The Psychology of Investing by John Knopfsinger. I think it's fascinating. It's a quick read. It really gives you good insight. And it's not just about investing. It's about any big money decision that you make. Buying a house, for some people, a big money decision is, spending $150 on something, right? And they go through like this meltdown of emotions trying to like get to the right decision.